follow him. 14 times he doesn't get lost. I don't know. You're getting older now. Yeah, I know. So we're gonna have a little bit of time until the early starters get in. Is everybody checked in? Even if you got your number last night, we need to know you're starting, because the aid station people will stay there until I say we found everybody. Okay?
I was driving to the McDonald Forest race. I think it was 99. No, it was 98. And I saw this guy pull over on the side of the road with the Montrail sticker on the back of a Subaru. And then after the race, he started talking about how he didn't have a driver's license and he got a speeding ticket. And that's when I realized that Scott McCoubrey, he's not a bad guy.
So I started running marathons, and when I was working out with a group on Wednesday nights, Tom Cotner's group, and I was training for my first marathon, and the guys I was training with were saying, okay, we got to do our long run, and I'm like, okay, where do you guys do your long run? And they're like, we meet at Green Lake at 7 o'clock. How long is the long run? Well, about a little over 3 hours, and maybe 2:45, and I'm like, you gonna do that around Green Lake? Yeah, we might do a loop down into Ravenna, but and I'm like, well, you know what? There's a 16-mile route up in the Alpine Lakes where I used to go fishing. Maybe we should go up there if we're gonna run that long. They're like, oh, no way. So I grabbed a couple water bottles and a power bar and went out to do my long run up in the Alpine Lakes. And started doing that for a couple of years while I was training for marathons, not knowing there was any ultra trail thing around.
I climbed Mount Rainier, and he told me to get rid of the 40-pound pack and get on a trail with some running shoes. So I did.
That was several years ago, or?
Well, I did Rainier in 2002. So,
okay.
And then I started to volunteer here. So it's been fantastic.
We had heard that you had to hydrate, and you had to hydrate and hydrate and hydrate, but you had to weigh in, you couldn't gain weight and all this stuff. So Dave's like, Dr. Dave, I got the solution. That night before the race, I'll bring 4 liters of IV fluids, and we'll use IVs to hydrate the night before the race. And so we're in our hotel room, and Dave gives me an IV. And then I've never administered an IV, and Dave's like, here, yeah, right there, that one. And first time, boom, right in. Nailed my first IV right there in the hotel room for Western States. Cool as could be. Dave was a little shaky though. And we both did 2 liters of IV fluids. And it's like, we got this under control, And all of a sudden, like, my forehead started to look all puffy. And I had this thing going on like this, and I was 8 pounds over what I weighed in at, and it was the worst because I peed every mile for the first 28 miles, and I had to stop every time, and I was 35 minutes behind my goal time because I was peeing and peeing and peeing. I was 8 pounds over all day, and found out that wasn't the effective way to hydrate before a race, only after a race.
Another memory is doing the 2000 Clallam run in September, and rode over with Scott and Jack. I think we might have one other in the vehicle, and Scott stayed in the van. I bivvied out. It was a very nice night. In the morning, Jack came over and stuck his snout in my sleeping bag just to make sure I was okay, and I felt reassured that he was there looking out for me. On the conclusion of the race, we were headed home, and Jack had his head in my lap, and turns out that everybody thought poor Jack hasn't eaten, and they fed him the hot dogs. And several people did this unbeknownst to the other people. Everybody thought they were the only ones. Well, Jack went ahead and refunded those hot dogs in my lap. Now it was Jack, so I gave him a hall pass and had Scott stop and managed to get most of it chucked out on the side of the road. But those are the good times of the old days.
Well, with the Montrail thing, I mean, you know, a $3 million company in a national marketing program with trail running is not a huge budget. I mean, I slept outside a lot, slept on the ground a lot, which I prefer usually anyway. But we camped. We instead of giving money to the events with the race directors, I would get there 2 days early and I'd help them load their vans. I'd make potatoes, I'd set up tents, I'd mark course, then I'd set up all our stuff and run the race, and then help them take down. And I learned a lot about every course around the country. I learned about what was good about some race directors and what was bad about other race directors. I always, if I wasn't running the event, so I knew what the aid stations were like and what the course markings were like, what to do and what not to do from that perspective. I was riding along with the directors of the events, being in front of and watching the fast runners and what the race directors did while the event was going on. I was riding around with the race directors when I wasn't racing the event.
Do you think it's weird that your parents are always hanging out with runners and always at races and that sort of thing?
Yes.
If I don't have a lot of things going on at once, I get very stir crazy in my brain, and so race directing allows my brain to go 20 different directions and actually complete a whole bunch of tasks in a very short period of time.
Well, because it's been a national championship for so long, there have been a lot of really good runners come through, so that has been a big draw for a long time. And then Scott has been doing so much for the trail running community, for the running community in Seattle, and for me personally with supplying me with shoes and other stuff. So even when I wasn't running, I was always wanted to be involved and help him with the race and give back to it.
The Cougar Mountain Trail Series, there was a bit of a budget shortfall, 2001-ish, with King County Parks, and there was a 1% property tax increase on the ballot, and they approached me to see if I could help with raising funds and bringing attention to the trail networks through the running community, and wanted me to put on one of these ultras like I did at White River, was how they put it to me. And I'm like, no, let's do a series. Let's bring new runners into trail running, and let's start at 5 miles, build to 7.5, 10, and 13, and involve the local community more instead of just this ultra running thing that most people aren't relating to necessarily. And so they really liked that idea, and it became a full-on fundraiser for King County Parks, and we've raised 8 to 13 grand a year now for 9 years at $15 a runner, and 120 plus work hours a year go into the trails, and this is our contribution as a running community to the trails.
And I'm so happy for Leslie and Scott and their new adventure in Sun Valley. And I can't wait to go visit them. So, make the room up.
Oh, you mean it went without a hitch?
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of did go without a hitch.
Get your events to be eventless, not eventful. It's good.
Yep. The radios were relatively quiet this year.